Who Killed Julie is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is highly advised. This episode of Who Killed Julie is brought to you by my debut novel, Chasing the Demon, a thriller adapted from Season 1 of my Subject Found podcast. Just a quick note before we get started with this fourth episode of Who Killed Julie. If you are enjoying the show, please consider supporting us. We would like to make the follow-on story to this series, but we can't do that without your support. Currently, we are 50% funded to start working on the next series. Please head over to patreon.com/pulsating and contribute what you comfortably can to support the show. Do this together, and as soon as we hit that goal, we can start working on the next series in the story of us. Enjoy.
I don't know what I'd do without him, really. He was always there for me. Always. As a kid, Syracuse, through the divorce. He says I'm such a strong person, that he's so proud of me, but he doesn't get it. I am who I am because of him. Julie's Journal, August 25th, 2009. Julie McLemore was a survivor of sexual assault. It's something I cannot separate from the rest of her story. I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not. If you can't deal with that, that's your problem. It's sad, but it's still your problem, not mine. I'm not just talking about what Walter told me in that last conversation either, though we'll get back to that. I'm talking about information in medical records, police records, school records, witness statements I got access to. Oh, also, friends' testimony, and Julie's own personal records. She kept a journal her father gave me access to. She journaled everything. It couldn't have been easy for him. He had to know what was in there because he only shared it with me after Caleb Haskins kicked me out of his house when I started delving into what happened between Julie and him while they were at Syracuse. So I asked him. Not then, no. Later, at the end of the investigation. He knew. Walter knew. That poor man knew what happened to his daughter while she was 3,000 miles away from his protection, and he was helpless to change it. I wouldn't want that for my worst enemy. Julie was sexually assaulted while at Syracuse, but, like most survivors, she carried on. She had to. Life forced her to, just like it does for thousands of survivors every single year. This is the story of how Julie became a hero. This is Julie's story, the story of us. I am Emerald Johnson, and this is Who Killed Julie. Can we talk about it, Walter? Without you, I don't know if I'm going to get her story. Please.
Ms. Johnson, I'll be damned if this is allowed to continue on.
What do you mean?
I don't mean to be rude, but all that stuff people have been saying about her since she disappeared, it's horrible. You know what I mean? A parent shouldn't be hearing those kinds of things about their kid. Don't care how old that kid is. She could have been in her 60s, and I'll be damned if anyone would get to talk about her like that. Not if I had a breath still left in me. All the newspapers saying the stuff they were saying. Those online magazines from Olympia and Thurston County. Talking about my little girl like that, Miss Johnson. My little girl. I don't care about what she did. don't care at all. She was a grown woman, educated. She had a right to make her own damn decisions. Ain't nobody got a right to tell her otherwise. But you know how people can be.
I do.
We used to be a religious family. Did you find that out in all your research about us?
I did.
And we left the church a long time ago. People in the church. Can't stand them. We used to have a lot of friends from the one we attended. Haven't talked to any of them in years. Hypocrites, all of them. God comes in third with church people.
Third, huh? That's a pretty low ranking.
Yes, ma'am. Bronze medal. Right after potluck lunches and judging other people.
It's been a long time since I've been to a service myself, but judging others isn't something they're supposed to be doing, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, in our church, it was something they excelled at. Damn good, too. Pros, you could say. Despicable people, really.
They hurt you?
Me? Maybe. I guess.
How so, Walter?
You love your mother, Miss Johnson?
Yes, of course.
Ever hear someone talking bad about her?
My father, after they divorced, yes, but I'm not sure what this has got.
Think back to how that made you feel, Miss Johnson. Horrible, wasn't it? Words cut right through you, you know? Now that was your mother. Imagine it being your child. Criticized by people who had enough of their own skeletons. People in no damn position to be judging anyone. Some of the worst things that were said about Julie came from those people.
I'm sorry, Walter. It's not right.
No, it's not. But it wasn't just the people at church or the papers. People everywhere was talking. Didn't matter where we went, you know. Olympia ain't that big of a city, right? That's how many people?
In Olympia? There's about 50,000, but with all the suburbs, municipalities, and such, it's about 250,000.
That many, huh? Still, small enough of a place. People talk in small places, and people did talk. They talked at church, they talked at the grocery stores and the coffee places.
What was it? What was it about Julie that people were talking about?
Oh, about the case. But there wasn't talking about that piece of shit that did this to her.
Roderick Alba?
Him. That bastard husband of hers. Caleb, that politician, Stanford Wilson, or whoever killed my little girl. No one was talking about them. Each one of them bastards got off scot-free.
Well, not free, but I get your point.
Don't be too quick to making up your mind, Miss Johnson. Not about them. But yes, seen people were more interested in talking about my little girl than they was the man who killed her.
That had to be hard.
Was. Only got worse, too. Day in and day out. Stories on the TV from those damn Seattle channels. They don't care about us down here, you know. We might be the state capital, but we ain't nothing but a small town to them. A joke. Shit like this happens down here, and they're all too happy to make news out of it to draw some attention away from all the bad stuff they got going up there. But we're just a little town, ain't we? Even if we are the capital, we still think small. Julie seemed to fascinate all the media here, and, well, after that went on long enough, well, I'm sure you know how people can be, Ms. Johnson. People love being told what to think, and they expect the television or the radio to tell them.
And you think they were given a bad impression of Julie?
I know they were.
Did you say anything? You or Angela? Did you reach out to the media and talk to them about what they were doing?
What's a family to say? especially a family like us. We don't know anyone in the media. We ain't connected. So what could we do? We talked to our family and friends, reached out to anyone we could who knew Julie, but we don't run in those circles. And Angela? Well, I've said enough bad words about that woman to fill my lifetime quota. She just didn't do us or Julie any favors. So we shut up, tried to do some grassroots stuff, get other little people on our side, but it didn't change nothing. Little people don't catch breaks in the big man's world.
Is that why you gave me Julie's journal? You thought it would help tell her story more fairly?
Miss Johnson, I need you to tell her story. Her real story. Someone's got us so she can rest, and that can't happen till the truth comes out. I sure as hell can't do it. Her damn mother won't be bothered. No, ma'am, you have to. You're the only one who can. You're Julie's last hope.
More about my conversation with Walter later. We talked about a lot, including Caleb Haskins. We talked about Roderick Alba and Stanford Wilson, the state senator. And we talked about other things. But there was one thing that Walter and I discussed that I need to cover for you now. You see, at the time, I wasn't aware that Walter didn't automatically blame Roderick Alba. I was blind to it. I just figured he would be convinced of Alba's guilt due to the conviction. But Walter wasn't. Walter swore that someone else might be responsible for Julie's death, and when I asked him for more detail, he became uncomfortable. He pushed me to read Julie's journal before diving into that part of her story. I promised him I would. He told me that the sooner I did, the clearer everything would become. Honestly, I didn't know what to make of it, but when you work these kinds of stories, you've got to be ready for anything and everything. I thought I knew that. I really did, but after I read some of her journal, I realized there was a lot about Julie that most people didn't know, and those who did weren't talking. As if the shame, the guilt of the circumstances surrounding her murder were too much, and they just buried it to protect themselves, maybe? I don't know. Something's not clicking. As far as Walter was concerned, there were a number of men who could have been responsible for what happened to Julie. And he didn't buy the line that Roderick Alba abducted Julie, strangled her, bludgeoned her, and left her for dead by the inlet. For now, I want to play you a phone conversation I had with Angela. I figured I'd call her while I was still in Fresno, still close to and waiting on Caleb. I wanted to get her side on a couple of things, to see where she stood in regards to Caleb and everything Julie went through at Syracuse. Let me play it for you now. Hi, Angela. Do you have a few minutes?
Yes, I do. I was just getting ready to head over to church. Women's Bible study tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to hold you up. I can call you later if that works better for you.
Oh, I don't mind. I still have a little bit to get done around the house, and I don't like getting there too early anyway. We're supposed to start at 6, but those women couldn't stay focused if their lives depended on it. Chitting and chattering for darn near half an hour before anyone realizes the study's behind schedule.
Sounds like a habit?
Every single time. I tell you, good thing the Lord is forgiving, because I swear some of those women sure don't act like he's a priority in their lives. The way they run that group.
Well, please let me know if I'm holding you up.
Don't worry, I will. Nothing gets in the way of the Lord, not even this. So, What can I do for you? You're calling about Julie, right?
Yes, I'm down in Fresno, California
Fresno?
now.
Oh, my. Are you trying to get away from the rain? Can't say as I blame you. I wouldn't half mind.
I'm here to meet with Caleb Haskins.
Oh,
Is everything okay?
yes. I just haven't heard that name in a long time. I wasn't really expecting it, that's all.
Why not?
Why not what?
Why weren't you expecting to hear that name?
Well, Caleb, that name, he is from a long time ago. I don't really think that much about him anymore.
But we talked about Julie's time at Syracuse the last time we spoke.
I don't see how that relates to Caleb, though. Not now, anyways. She knew him then. They were friends, but well, it's hardly worth a trip all the way to Fresno for now, isn't it?
I disagree, obviously, or I wouldn't be down here. We had a fascinating meeting.
Oh, he was such a sweet young man when they went to school together. I'm sure he's an amazing man now, too. What's he doing down there? I'm sure it's something remarkable. He just had that aura, I guess you'd say.
You actually met him? In person?
Of course, silly. Julie didn't stay in New York the entire 4 years of school. She came home Christmas of I think, in her sophomore year. Yeah, that'd be right. Christmas of her sophomore year is when she came home with him. His family was, by the way I remember him talking about them, a difficult family. They were into some sort of business somewhere in the South. Dallas, I think. Anyways, there was something going on that year, and he couldn't go home. His family wouldn't be there, or something. So Julie asked if we were okay with him coming back with her.
Were you?
Oh, of course not. Not at first. I didn't think it was appropriate. But she sounded so desperate to not leave him back there over the break. Julie always had such a soft, kind heart like that. She'd do anything for anyone. The teachings of Jesus. I'm not sure where she lost them. Anyways, she begged, and Walter was okay with it at first, just like he was okay with anything Julie asked for. He was such a pushover.
So Caleb came back with Julie during his sophomore year. That's how you met him.
Yes.
Did you see him again? Or was it just this once?
Oh, heavens, no. We saw him a lot over the years. After school, they sort of lost touch. Kids always do, you know. Plus, Walter made him feel uneasy, protective father and all that. But when Caleb moved out to this coast, he'd come up and visit when he knew she was on long breaks. It wasn't like it was all the time, of course, but it was nice to see him when he could make it up. The times Walter didn't frighten the poor young man.
How did Julie act around him?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Angela, what was she like around Caleb when they were together? Happy, sad, glum, enamored?
They were just normal kids, I guess. Emerald, you've got to understand, Julie was a happy person. Well, at least back then she was. She was always bright, cheerful, full of joy. Always wore a smile. That Caleb could come up and see her when she was home only made her happier. She really liked him being around.
Was she like that even when they weren't dating?
Dating? Oh, heavens no. That's silly.
Wait. Angela, I meant... Sorry. It's been a long trip. Was Julie the same? Did she act the same whenever Caleb would come up to visit after they stopped dating?
Emerald, Julie and Caleb never dated.
But Walter said that Julie...
What does that man know? No, I can promise you they weren't dating.
Ever?
Emerald, I'm Julie's mother. I would know if she was dating Caleb. Even from 3,000 miles away, I'd know that.
Would Julie have any reason to hide that from you? That she was dating him?
Absolutely not. And plus, Caleb was a good Christian boy. He knew where we stood on those issues.
What issues?
Dating. Unless they were courting, which they weren't. There would be none of that nonsense. School was her focus. Julie knew that. She knew what we expected of her.
And what was that?
Well, she wasn't going to Syracuse to date, Emerald. All those years and sacrifices she made throughout high school just to go there and get distracted by some boy? Oh, heavens no. That wasn't going to happen.
What was your impression of Caleb after he graduated? Was he still the same good Christian boy you knew him as when he went to school with Julie?
What do you mean?
Well, time changes people, doesn't it? Did Caleb change when you saw him later after Julie moved back and started working in the area?
Well, I don't think so. Henry and I were busy running everything around here, and Julie, well, you know how Julie was a busy woman herself, always on the go. We didn't get to see each other as much as we would have liked to.
Life gets in the way. I understand.
Yes, it does. I miss her, Emerald. I miss that girl more than anything in the world. Life is precious, and I know she's in a better place now. I know she's happy, and she's not struggling anymore. But I miss her and the boys.
Are you able to see them often?
Heavens, no. Tony isn't like that. I swear. We hadn't laid Julie to rest, and he was already clamoring for those boys. Blamed it on his job. Said he couldn't take that much time off to wait on us. If it wasn't for Henry, I don't know what I would have done about that man, I swear. Lord, give me patience. Do you know how hard it was to put those young boys on an airplane? Looking in those little faces and saying goodbye, knowing I wasn't likely to see them again for years, if ever. Ryan was barely 6, and Kyle wasn't even in kindergarten yet, torn away from the only family they really knew so that piece of Satan's work could scurry them off to Atlanta, taking those little boys away from their entire world, all the way across the country when they still didn't even understand what was going on. That's the kind of man Tony is, let me tell you. No, I don't see them often. Henry flew them out here last year to surprise me. Oh, it was wonderful.
Oh, really? Well, maybe Tony's coming around if he allowed them.
Not a chance. He had some thing he had to do. The boys were an inconvenience. He was scrambling to find someone to watch them so he could get out of town. We were convenient babysitters for him. Nothing more.
I'm really sorry about that, Angela.
It's okay. I know you're just doing what you need to do for Julie. Plus, Lord forgive me, there's a part of me who wants the world to know what a piece of work Tony is. Oh, shoot. It's getting late. I need to get to church. But listen, whatever you're looking for, no, I don't remember much of a change at all in Julie in those later years. Not one that I could point at and blame Caleb for. No, not him. Emerald, it's hard for a mother to say this, but the demons that haunted Julie were of her own doing. People can blame whoever they want. Lord knows Walter probably still is doing just that. But that terrible thing that happened when she was in college, the things people say she did, even after she moved back here, those were Julie's choices. She put herself in those situations, and the Lord will judge her on that and that alone. Caleb shouldn't bear her cross. I'm sorry, but I have to go. I know I told you the ladies always start late, but I'll be darned if they get to blame me for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry I kept you, Angela.
Throughout this series of Who Killed Julie, we will be partnering with Safe Place in Olympia, Washington to raise funds for their operations. Safe Place provides crucial services to survivors of domestic and sexual violence. They offer a 24-hour helpline, 24-hour emergency shelter and sexual assault response, advocacy support groups, legal clinics, children and youth programs, prevention education, community outreach, and training. Please see the donation link in the episode notes. Help us raise as much as we possibly can for Safe Place in Olympia, Washington, to serve people who need them now. Today, Olympia, Washington. Tomorrow, your city. Let's change the world.
I couldn't tell Angela the truth about Julie and Caleb. Not then. Not like that. Not over the phone. Plus, I'm going to be honest, part of me wondered, still wonders, if it'd even be worth it. I mean, really, what would have been the point of filling in some of the holes in someone's life when it doesn't change the story? But it did in the end. Shit. I don't know. Half of me knew Angela was entitled to find out about them, but then there's this less emotional part of my reasoning that questions what it would have done for her. What benefit would have come out of letting her know that her daughter was dating Caleb on and off for years, almost from the time she met Caleb at the party, the night she called Rachel about being sexually assaulted by someone. I found out later that night wasn't necessarily what I was led to believe. We will get around to that, I promise. Julie and Caleb did date. They had breakups and heartbreaks, but they seemed to always find their way back together, throughout their time together at Syracuse and well after it. Even long distance didn't stop them. There was a will and a way for those two, and nothing kept them apart. Angela might not have known, but Rachel did. Though he said he didn't find out until much later, Walter knew too. The same couldn't be said about Angela. I sort of feel bad for her, in a way. There were all sorts of things happening in Julie's life that she couldn't or wouldn't tell her own mother about. Caleb was just a small piece of that reality. It still makes me wonder what it must be like and what has to happen to get a mother and daughter relationship to that point. I wasn't looking for connections where there were none, and I wasn't trying to play Emerald, the detective psychologist. I am genuinely curious. What has to happen for an adult daughter to hide things like this from her mother? Everyone is broken. Everyone has skeletons in their closets. Someone listening to this episode right now is passing judgment about Angela, about Julie keeping secrets, whatever. And all the while, they've got some tasty morsel tucked away in their drawer of secrets they don't want anyone getting a glimpse of. Including me. But that is a story for another time. A much later time. But I'm not here to talk about Angela, and I'm definitely not here to talk about me. This is about Julie. Flying down to Fresno to escape the Olympia weather was great and all, but it wasn't what I was there for. So another visit to Caleb was on the books. I was just about to go see him, too. And then something happened before I could. He got to me. Shit! Who the hell could that be at this damn time of night? Yeah? I didn't call for housekeeping or room service, thanks.
Hey, Emerald. It's me. Can I come in?
Caleb?
Hey.
Hey. What are you doing here?
I need to talk. Can I come in? Or I could wait for you in the bar?
Yeah. Why don't we do that? Give me 10 minutes, and I'll meet you down there.
Okay.
Well, it looks like this girl's got a date. This ought to be interesting. Gotta say, Caleb, I didn't expect to see you. Or should I say, you're the last person in Fresno I expected to see.
Do you even know anyone else in Fresno?
Touche. So what's up?
I thought you said you were leaving Fresno and heading back to Olympia.
I am?
Okay, I wanted to catch you before you did.
What for? I'm sure you didn't come over to the hotel just to read me the riot act.
No, and listen, you caught me off guard before.
Really? Is that what that was? Caught you off guard, or did I touch a nerve?
You're pretty good at this, and they should look into hiring you full-time after you've told Julie's story.
They don't have the pockets for that, but I'll take the compliment. So, you ready to do some real talking?
I'm not going to answer everything, but that's just because there are things I don't need my name attached to. I hope you understand, but I'm a businessman with a career, and I'd like to keep it that way, as fragile as it is. Just because I've lost everything doesn't mean I want to lose the little bit I do still have.
Let's start there then.
You've got to know, doing this thing, it's a problem. I mean, you can't just come back prying into everyone's life and not get some kind of reaction. You know that, right?
Caleb, while I appreciate your feedback, I didn't ask for it. I was hired to do a job, and I'm a professional. If I agree to do something, I'm going to damn well do it. You can talk to me or not, but I'm still going to investigate Julie's story, and I'm going to tell it. Not only because I was hired to, but because it's the right thing to do. The more I learn about who she was, the more I see the necessity in it. Hopefully you know that.
So every murder victim gets their own book nowadays? Their own podcast? When does this true crime shit get old? Sorry. That was dickish.
Yes, it was. What's really going on, Caleb? What do you want?
I want to talk about her.
Then let's be real. If you're really ready to talk about her, to give me your side of things, then give me something other than a hard time. Okay?
Yeah, I'm good. People, man, they just don't know shit about what happened with her, you know? Everyone's got a damn opinion, and every single one of them's wrong.
So enlighten me. What am I missing? What am I not being told?
Everything?
I appreciate the cryptic response. It'll sound good on the podcast. But stuff like that, that's not going to get me any closer to understanding what happened.
You don't get it because no one wants to talk about Julie's life, Julie's real life. How many people have you talked to?
A few on the record, a few off record, but I probably won't use their statements.
Her parents, whoever hired you to do this human interest story. I bet you've done a round or two with Rachel as well. And of those people, spending God knows how much time with each of them, how much information have they given to you, and how much have you had to drag out of them?
I'm not at liberty to say.
See, the thing is, I know they're not talking. Well, maybe Walter, but 90% of what he says is painted by blind love. And the rest of them, you probably had to pry shit out of them, haven't you? That's my guess, anyway.
And why do you think that is?
Everyone has something to protect, Miss Johnson. Everyone.
What are you trying to tell me, Caleb? Give me something.
Julie was, she was complicated. She wasn't your run-of-the-mill person. You know, it's funny, she was like this amalgamation of Olympia. The lifestyles all clashing together inside one person, you know? I swear you could do a case study on that damn city just using her. The conservative shit that her parents, especially her mother, shoved down her throat her entire life, the guilt, the shame, sitting there right next to this loose and carefree liberal spirit, her true self. Fucking case study. I don't know if she was like that, you know, all carefree and everything as a reaction to her upbringing, or if that's who she would have always been, but it was there. That's who she was. The person she loved to be, but she struggled with it. God, she struggled.
Was she like that when you two met? Back at Syracuse?
Yeah, she was. That's what made me fall in love with her, you know? She was so bright. When Julie walked into a room, things changed. It was that spirit about her. You could just sense it. Sense her. People were changed when she was around. Like this one time, we were rolling up on finals. Everybody was super stressed, and you know how it is. We all got together and we were gonna drink from sundown to sunup. And we were young and stupid, and we thought that was the thing to do. And Julie walks in. I don't know how she heard about it, because I sure as hell didn't tell her. I was too embarrassed. But she walks into the party. She's got these keys dangling from her neck on a damn lanyard, and she's twirling them around like what you see in those old movies, like the Roaring Twenties movies, where the dancers are twirling those big flowery things around their necks.
You mean boas?
Yeah, those. So she walks into the party with like 10 guys trying to get their drink on, and she's swinging these keys.
Keys to what?
The fitness center. Somehow she's gotten these damn things from like one of her girlfriends, I think, and she's telling us to put the beers down and follow her. It's like a fucking hike. I mean, we're walking for good 15 minutes. Okay, maybe 10, but it was cold and we wanted to get drunk, and she said she had something for us. And we get there and the lights are on, which is totally not normal, and there's music blaring. There's a stack of energy drinks in one corner and a bunch of rubber balls on the basketball court. Julie's laughing, telling us, ordering us to get our frustrations out by beating the shit out of each other playing some dodgeball. And then she's gonna help us cram. And we did. We friggin' played dodgeball for hours. I think we only stopped because we were young and stupid, and some of us had had the energy drinks before we played and started feeling like shit. But Julie, she stayed there the entire time, man. Refereeing, you know, because guys can get competitive, cheering us on and laughing. And then when we were sweating and worn out and one guy was throwing up all the energy drinks he had, we start studying right there on the gym floor. No books, no notes. She's just reciting this stuff off the top of her head, and she knows it. Guys are asking questions and she's walking them through everything. It's the middle of the night and she's this mental razor just slicing through all this fog and confusion for the rest of us, and most of us were a year ahead of her. It was amazing. Miss Johnson, that's who Julie was.
Wow, that's a nice story. Thank you for sharing that with me, Caleb. It's gotta be hard to think about times like those.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
You miss her, don't you?
More than you'll ever know. I didn't mean to do a lot of the stupid shit I did, I promise. I've got nothing to lie about. No reason to. The dumb shit I did to Julie. Us having an affair. God, I really fucked things up. I've never known what pure hatred felt like, not until Stacy found out about me and Julie. It's over between us, like, permanently. There's no going back. I really fucked it all up.
Why, Caleb? From everything I've heard about Julie, she didn't seem like the type of woman who'd have an affair, even if she was already divorced.
She was like a drug. Almost everyone who knew Julie just loved being around her. And I wanted more of her because she was so fucking positive. We all knew she had shit going on, that she was struggling with stuff, and having that dick of an ex, Tony, didn't help, but she rarely showed it, and only in private. In public, you'd never know she had so much on her plate. She said she never wanted to put that on other people. She was like that, always carrying the burden. So yeah, I don't know. I made bad decisions. It's not like I wanted to destroy my marriage. I didn't have some lofty goal of fucking up my kids' lives or breaking my wife's heart. I don't know. I just... This is gonna sound insanely like stupid guy syndrome, but I just couldn't stay away from her. She was so addicting.
I appreciate this, Caleb. It really helps me understand her in a different way. Everyone's been so tight-lipped about her, except for her father, but he's still not talking about some things. He's trying to point me in the right direction because I think he doesn't want to deal with it himself, and I get that. It can't be easy to see your children as adults, making adult mistakes. Now, I've got to say, he's helping more than anyone, but you've done a lot for me tonight.
It's the least I can do to make it up to her.
What do you mean?
For what I did to her?
Sorry? What did you do to her? Caleb? What's going on? Talk to me, please.
I killed her. I killed Julie.
I've seen grown men break down in front of me. This wasn't the first time. But watching Caleb was hard. Really hard. He did more than break down, though. Caleb broke. Recalling the memories of Julie seemed to take a toll on him. He was a mess. We actually had to leave the bar. I gave the bartender my room number and asked him to add it to my tab. I wasn't sure if he believed me or if he thought we were trying to hustle him out of a couple of overpriced drinks, but I also didn't care at the moment. No one needed to see Caleb like that. When people mourn, they need to be able to do it in their form and fashion, not some constructed, acceptable way we love pigeonholing people into. And sometimes, the way we mourn makes others uncomfortable. If you'd seen Caleb, it was difficult. I didn't see what Caleb was going through as anything but mourning. Not then, but especially not now. Not after everything I've learned about them throughout the investigation. Things I'll share with you. He loved Julie. Loved her deeply for reasons you're still probably trying to understand. He missed her profoundly. And my presence, my questions, they forced him to recall things he probably crammed away for years, probably since her disappearance. When people do that, when they suppress things instead of dealing with them, their reactions tend to be intemperate. Caleb's story didn't end there. It couldn't. He was intricately tied to Julie's own story. His was part of hers. Their paths met and intertwined throughout their adult lives, intimately wrapped in each other's journeys and struggles. That's something we're going to get into next time. So be sure to tune in 2 weeks from now for the 5th installment of Julie's story. The story of us. You've been listening to Who Killed Julie? I'm Emerald Johnson. Thank you for listening, and, as always, keep questioning.
Who Killed Julie is written and edited by Paul Sading. You can find more about me and my books and other audio drama podcasts, my writing podcast, over at paulsading.com. It is produced and sound designed by the excellent Dog and Pony Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. They are also the company that produced the 2nd season of Subject Found. You can find them at dogandponystudios.net. Emerald Johnson was played by the one and only, the absolutely wonderful and highly talented audiobook narrator, Ashley Litzy. You can find more about Ashley, her work, and her services over at deepcurvesahead.com. Angela Morrison was Robin Siegerman. You can find Robin and her books over at robinsiegerman.com. Rachel Leonard is the one and only Rihanna McAfee. You can find her on twitter.com/ReMcAfee. John McClane of Dog and Pony Studios played Walter McLemore. You can find him at dogandponystudios.net. Christopher Rocco, Olympia-based actor, played Caleb Haskins. You can find Caleb's live performances by checking out the schedule at olitheater.com. And Lauren Wisniewski played the customer in episode 2. She's a wonderful voice actor who you can find at lawofalltrades.wordpress.com. I want to give a special thanks to Amy Joy Hilt, who beta read for this podcast, volunteered her services, and really helped me tweak it to make sure that it was ready and appropriate for the material. Amy is a teacher in England and sometimes writer, and I want to thank Amy for her help. This show wouldn't have been what it is without her. If you want to find more about my stories, if you want exclusive stories, if you want insights, special posts, live messaging, early and exclusive access, stories that no one else is going to hear, and you really like what I'm doing with Who Killed Julie, you want to see the second part of this series happen, become a patron. Go over to patreon.com/Paul Sading, pick a reward level that works for your budget and the exclusives that you want, and help me start funding the next show in this series. You can also find this show, paulsading.com/who-killed-julie, where you can find all of the wonderful actor bios. It's on Libsyn, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play. The show is also on Facebook and Twitter, as am I. You can find me at Paul Sading or at Who Killed Julie. The artwork is done by the wonderful Kessie Rolinecki, who does all of my book covers and podcast covers. And of course, that music that is absolutely perfect for this show was done by none other than John Eric de Guzman of Dog and Pony Studios. Thank you for your download and your listen. Please tell a friend about the show. Please help us spread this important message, this important story. Julie's story. The story of us. Music in these credits is provided by Richard Temple.